Welcome to Honestly.
Thank you. I feel like I'm a stalker.
You're not.
Dana Perino, one of the most iconic figures of Fox News, is saying goodbye. But the reason behind this decision is shocking everyone. What seemed like just a pause in her career hides a devastating personal drama, the tragic diagnosis of her husband, Peter McMahon. But what has really happened behind the scenes? There are many details that the traditional media is not showing, and today we are going to reveal everything. Between hushed rumors, hasty decisions, and signs that have been in the air for a long time, this story goes beyond a simple off-air exit. Dana, known for her firm stance and sharp opinions, has always kept her personal life in the background. Until now. Why did she decide to expose everything at this moment? What sensitive information was being hidden from the public? And most importantly, what does this departure mean for the future of the network and the American political media landscape? Some sources close to the couple speak of moments of extreme tension. Others suggest there is something even bigger behind this decision, a kind of silent pressure that may have come from within Fox News itself. Was her husband's health just the last straw of a glass that was already overflowing? And what if I told you there's a final detail that nobody is talking about, but that could change the way you see this whole story? So stay until the end of the video, because the last revelation will leave you completely shocked. And before continuing, if you like content that goes beyond the surface and exposes truths that many try to hide, go ahead and leave your like and subscribe to the channel right now. This is essential so that YouTube understands this content is relevant and shows it to more people. Only then can we break through the big media bubble. And if you want to support this independent work even more, click the Super Thanks button down below and contribute whatever amount you can. But if you can't, no problem. Just comment below what surprised you the most in this story. Your interaction already helps a lot. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next might change everything you thought about Dana Perino. Dana Marie Perino was born on the 9th of May, 1972, in Evanston, Wyoming, and grew up in Denver, Colorado, in the United States. Of humble origin, she was raised in a family with strong conservative values, which directly influenced her worldview and career. From an early age, Dana showed interest in politics, communication, and journalism, fields that would come to define her professional life. She graduated in mass communication from Colorado State University Pueblo, and also earned a master's degree in international affairs from the University of Illinois Springfield. Still young, she took her first steps in the media as a radio host and local reporter. Her intelligence, clear speech, and firm stance quickly caught the attention of politicians and advisors. The turning point in her career happened when she moved to Washington, D.C., and began working in public offices, including the United States House of Representatives. In 2005, Perino made history by becoming the White House press secretary during George W. Bush's administration. Being only the second woman to hold the position in the history of the United States, her performance was marked by firmness amid critical moments, such as the 2008 economic crisis and the conflicts in the Middle East. After leaving the White House, Dana continued her career as a political commentator and journalist. She was hired by Fox News, where she became one of the most influential figures at the network. Currently, she is co-host of the program of 5 and a constant presence in political debates shaping American public opinion. Her balanced stance, yet clearly rooted in conservatism, has made her one of the most respected and at the same time criticized voices in the United States media. In her personal life, Dana has been married since 1998 to Peter McMahon, a British businessman. Their relationship has always been discreet but solid. However, recently, rumors and news about serious health problems faced by Peter have put Dana back in the spotlight, this time for more intimate and delicate reasons. Today, Dana Perino is much more than a former presidential spokesperson. She is a symbol of a generation of women who occupied traditionally male spaces in politics and media, always carry within the tension between power, responsibility, and personal sacrifice. Her story is one of discipline, intelligence, and courage, with chapters still being written. Before Dana Perino became one of the most influential voices of American conservatism and reached the spotlight of the White House and Fox News, she was just a quiet and introspective girl from the interior of the United States. Born on the 9th of May, 1972, in the small town of Evanston, In the state of Wyoming, Dana Marie Perino had a childhood far from the big urban centers and the political hustle of Washington. At a very young age, her family moved to Denver, Colorado, where she would grow up in an environment shaped by discipline, traditional values, and a strong sense of responsibility. Dana was raised in a middle-class family. The daughter of Janice Perino, a dedicated homemaker, and Leo Perino, a salesman who also had a deep interest in politics, especially topics related to conservatism and civics. Her heritage is predominantly Italian, and she has always spoken fondly about the influence of her grandparents, especially her maternal grandfather, an immigrant from Italy who served as an important figure in the formation of her character. He often spoke about gratitude to America and the importance of working hard. Even when no one is watching, a lesson Dana would carry with her for life. From an early age, Dana showed personality traits that set her apart from other children. She was shy, observant, and extremely perfectionist. She preferred books over outdoor games and had a sharp critical sense from a very young age. In her adult interviews, Dana often describes her childhood as normal, but deeply responsibility-driven. She didn't grow up surrounded by luxury, but she always had what mattered most: a united family, a quality education, and encouragement for independent thinking. Her interest in communication began early. At 6 years old, Dana was already pretending to host news programs with her sister, using a hairbrush as a microphone. She was fascinated by newscasts and loved listening to the radio with her father. Unlike most children, she wasn't interested in cartoons, but in political talk shows and debates. This early interest was encouraged by her parents, who gave her the freedom to explore her passions, as long as she kept good grades and followed the house rules. As a teenager, Dana attended Ponderosa High School in Parker, Colorado. She was an exemplary student, but describes her school years as a time of intense introspection and self-demand. She wasn't the popular girl or the cheerleading captain, but she stood out academically and was respected by teachers and classmates. She also began participating in debate and journalism clubs, where she discovered a genuine passion for arguing, writing, and presenting ideas, a skill that would become central to her career. After high school, Dana chose to pursue her academic interests at Colorado State University, Pueblo, where she earned a degree in mass communication with a specialization in political science and Spanish. There, she actively participated in the university radio station, produced reports, and deepened her interest in politics. Despite her dedication, she still felt the need to expand her worldview. That's why, after graduation, she moved to the state of Illinois, where she completed a master's degree in international affairs at the University of Illinois Springfield. This period was crucial for Dana, not only for consolidating her academic background, but because she began to realize she wanted to work behind the scenes in politics, not as a traditional politician, but as a bridge between leaders and the people. It was during this time that she developed a skill that would make her famous years later: communicating difficult messages clearly, strategically, and with emotional composure. Even during her college and postgraduate years, Dana maintained a reserved and disciplined profile. Instead of going to parties, she preferred studying and working. She had few relationships, was selective with her friendships, and often mentioned the pressure she felt not to disappoint anyone, neither her parents nor herself. It's worth noting that, unlike many public figures driven by unbridled ambition or desire for fame, Dana was always moved by a quiet sense of duty. This was reflected in everything she did, in her careful choice of words, her respect for rules, and her constant attempt to find a balance between firmness and empathy, something that would later become her signature in political communication. Another striking point of her youth was her deep respect for institutions. Dana grew up in an environment where the Constitution of the United States was considered sacred, and patriotism was taught not as propaganda, but as an intrinsic value of citizenship. She has even stated in interviews, "At 14, I could recite entire passages of the Constitution and loved studying America's founders." This solid background, combined with her emotional intelligence and academic training, created a foundation for Dana to face the immense challenges that would come in her adult life, especially when she took on a role of White House press secretary during one of the most turbulent periods in American history. But before all that, she was just Dana, a reserved, discreet, extremely studious young woman who didn't dream of fame, but a positive influence. a young woman who would transform her shyness into elegance, her silence into strategy, and her conservative upbringing into a remarkable career that still inspires and also divides opinions across the United States. Dana Perino's rise in the world of politics was not the result of scandals, political legacies, or explosive charisma. On the contrary, she built her path in a methodical, quiet, and almost invisible way in the eyes of the public. Her journey, marked by strategy, patience, and rare emotional intelligence, took her from an unnoticed intern in the back halls of Washington to White House press secretary, one of the most sensitive and coveted positions in American politics. After completing her master's degree in international affairs at the University of Illinois Springfield, Dana decided it was time to move closer to the heart of national politics, Washington, D.C. Initially, the plan was simple: gain experience in public service and perhaps work in the field of government public relations. But she had no political sponsors, no famous last name. What she did have was an impeccable resume, sharp communication skills, and a sense of self-control that years later would prove essential during the most critical moments of her career. Her first big step came when she worked as a press aide for Republican lawmakers in the United States House of Representatives. During this time, her work involved writing press releases, preparing speeches, and coaching Congress members for interviews, all done with discretion. Perino became known for her ability to distill complex messages into a few words and for staying calm under pressure. While many sought visibility, she opted for quiet efficiency, a trait that earned her immediate respect behind the scenes of power. Between the years of 1998 and 2002, she held various positions related to institutional communication within the federal government, gaining deep experience in the workings of political bureaucracy. Her style was direct, professional, and free from exaggerated emotion, characteristics that caught the attention of the White House at just the right moment. In 2003, Dana was invited to join the communications team of George W. Bush's administration during an especially volatile period in the United States. The country was still reeling from the trauma of September 11th, and the Iraq War was beginning to unfold. It was one of the most tense times in modern American politics, and the Bush administration needed communicators capable of defending unpopular decisions with firmness, clarity, and, above all, composure. Initially, she served as deputy press secretary. For months, Perino worked in the background, observing, learning, and earning the trust of the administration's top officials. The role required constant monitoring of the press, speech analysis, and coordination with multiple federal agencies. She needed to know everything that was happening all the time and be ready to respond to any crisis that might arise, often with little or no warning. In 2005, at the age of 33, Dana Perino was promoted to White House press secretary, becoming only the second woman in United States history to hold the position, preceded only by D.D. Myers during the Clinton administration. It was a position of immense visibility, where a single misstep could cause an international crisis. In this role, Dana became the official spokesperson for the President of the United States, responsible for translating the Bush administration's decisions to the public, the national press, and global leaders. Her communication style stood out: firm, polite, technical, yet still accessible. While other press secretaries engage in verbal clashes with reporters, Dana preferred to disarm with rationality and often subtle irony, but it was far from easy. She faced extreme pressure, rising casualties in the Iraq War, the slow response to Hurricane Katrina, and the 2008 financial crisis that nearly paralyzed the American economy. In a later interview, Perino admitted she suffered silent anxiety attacks, especially during the early hours before important briefings. "I learned how to control my face, but inside, I was sometimes on the verge of collapse." In one of the most intense episodes of her time at the White House, Dana was accidentally injured by a microphone during a scuffle in the press room while trying to prevent journalists from overhearing sensitive information. The scene became a symbol of how intense the role was, where even the slightest move could have international repercussions. She was also criticized for defending some of the Bush administration's most controversial decisions, such as a tightening of national security policies and the handling of the war in the Middle East. Many accused Dana of being a puppet of power, but she always responded with calm professionalism. "My role is to represent the president, not to give my opinion about him. That level of professionalism was seen by some as coldness, by others as the only way to survive in such a hostile environment. Despite the pressures, Dana ended her time at the White House with strong internal approval and the admiration of even political opponents. Many acknowledged that even if they disagreed with her positions, it was impossible not to respect her technical skill, self-control, and preparation. When George W. Bush's second term ended in 2009, Dana Perino left the White House with a legacy. She had shown that even as a woman young and from outside political elites, it was possible to occupy one of the most challenging roles in the United States. And she did so without scandal, without losing her composure, and with elegance that few can maintain in the midst of chaos. That period transformed Dana, not just into a top-level professional, but into a national public figure. And although her time in institutional politics ended there, the influence she had accumulated would become even greater in the years that followed. Now, in front of the cameras, no longer as the voice of the president, but as the voice of an ideology she knew from the inside better than most. When you think of Dana Perino, it's easy to picture only the public figure. Composed, articulate, strategic, and extremely private. However, behind the former White House press secretary and Fox News anchor is a woman with a rich, intense, and, in many ways, surprising personal life. One of the most emblematic and least explored chapters of her story is her relationship with Peter McMahon, the man she has shared her life with for more than 2 decades. A romance that began in an unusual way, faced cultural barriers, prejudices, and now goes through a painful and quiet chapter. It all began in 1997, when Dana was only 25 years old and boarded a commercial flight to Denver. What seemed like just another business trip would become a turning point in her personal life. In the seat next to her was Peter McMahon, a British executive in the pharmaceutical sector, 18 years her senior, with a thick accent and a mature charm. The meeting was casual, but the connection was immediate. They talked throughout the entire flight: politics, business, personal life, and exchanged contact information upon landing. A few weeks later, Peter sent Dana an email. In a bold and romantic gesture, he invited her to visit him in the United Kingdom. Dana, who had always been extremely cautious with her decisions, surprisingly said yes. What started as an adventurous trip turned into the beginning of a deep and intense relationship, marked from the start by major differences in age, nationality, culture, and lifestyle. At that point, Peter had already been married twice, had adult children, and lived a life very different from a political world Dana was beginning to explore. Many friends and even colleagues questioned whether the relationship made sense. After all, Dana was a young rising professional in Washington. He, an older man with an already well-established life in Europe. But against all odds, the relationship blossomed. In 1998, just over a year after their first meeting, they got married. It was a discreet wedding, far from the spotlight, exactly the way Dana preferred it. She rarely spoke publicly about her marriage, even after becoming a national figure. Their union became a safe harbor for her, a space of comfort, protection, and emotional stability amid the chaos of American politics. Dana has described Peter many times as her greatest supporter. During her years working at the White House, he was the emotional foundation that supported her through sleepless nights, image crises, and intense public scrutiny. In later interviews, she revealed that when she came home, Peter helped her disconnect from politics and go back to just being Dana. They had the habit of dining together every evening, drinking red wine, watching old British shows, and walking their dogs, a simple domestic life that stood in stark contrast to the weight of her professional responsibilities. One aspect that sparked controversy over the years was the couple's decision not to have children. Dana has been open about this in several interviews, saying that the choice was conscious, mutual, and free of regret. Even so, she faced criticism from some conservative circles, who expected her as a Republican and Catholic woman.
Welcome to
Take on a
Honestly.
more
Thank you.
traditional
I
role,
feel
her
like
response
I'm a
was always
stalker.
firm. My
You're not
purpose
a-
is different. I wouldn't be happy trying to be something I'm not, just to meet a social expectation. Peter, for his part, had already experienced fatherhood and fully respected the decision. Their relationship has always been based on mutual respect, emotional independence, and intellectual admiration. It's not uncommon to hear her refer to him as my best friend or my balance. Even with her career demanding constant travel, recordings, public appearances, and writing books, Dana has always prioritized her relationship with Peter as her steady foundation. But not everything is perfect. In recent years, rumors began circulating about Peter McMahon's declining health. In recent public appearances, Dana has avoided speaking directly about it, but she has appeared visibly shaken, including during live broadcasts. There are moments when she seems emotionally withdrawn, quiet, traits that, according to observant fans, were not common before. In 2024, during an interview on America's Newsroom, Dana said, her voice trembling, "We're going through difficult times, but true love is the kind that proves itself in silence." That statement reignited speculation that Peter may be facing a serious health issue, possibly degenerative. Some alternative media outlets cited sources close to the couple suggesting early onset dementia or heart complications, but no official confirmation has ever been given. Dana's silence on the matter only increases the mystery and emotional concern of fans who have followed the couple for decades. Today, Dana Perino and Peter McMahon's relationship seems to have entered a new phase, more private, more intimate, and possibly marked by caregiving. She continues to refer to him with affection, and co-workers say Dana has been prioritizing time at home, canceling commitments, and maintaining a lighter routine. Some speculate that she may be preparing for a possible farewell to public life, something that, if it happens, will have as its central motivation the love of a lifetime. In today's increasingly fast-paced and superficial world, Dana and Peter's story is a rare narrative of loyalty, maturity, emotional courage, and real partnership. A relationship that began in an unlikely way and remained strong despite external pressures, differences, and now, possibly, the sorrow of an approaching loss. And we've reached the end of this video about Dana Perino saying goodbye after her husband's tragic diagnosis. We hope this story has touched you and made you reflect on the strength of love during such difficult times. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more content like this. We also really want to hear your opinion. So leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about this story. And before you go, make sure to check out the video that's showing up on your screen right now. It's even more interesting and moving than this one. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.